So getting back to the James and Mike Mondays, you are aware we just did a podcast topic on it about Sky Kid going from a $6 game to a $40 game. So what was the first couple examples where you noticed that people were either scalping these games, or I guess the interest went up to such an extent that it was jacking the prices? And now, are you that aware of it when you're choosing your games for James and Mike Monday?
That has no bearing on when we choose. The first time I noticed that actually is what I just mentioned, that top 10 obscure NES gems video. It goes back to that. I remember it. And honestly, it probably goes back to AVGN episodes if you think about it. Like if James does a video on McKids, I bet the price of McKids goes up, you know? But I remember when I did that obscure NES gems, Guardian Legend was my number one pick on that. And that game was like $2 or something, and right after I did that video, it went up to like $30. But I'm sure it's not like that anymore, and that's where I'm going with this. Is let's say this week James and I played Trojan on NES or something. I bet the price would jump that week for Trojan on eBay and whatever, but give it a month or two, it's going to go back down, because I think people just get excited when they see us play it. The eBayers put it on there. Oh, James and Mike just did this, and they make the game $30. But then after 2 months, nobody cares anymore, and then it goes back to normal. So
yeah, I definitely noticed. Guardian Legend is a good example. That's down to I think like $14, something like that.
Okay.
But the one example that I always pick for AVGN having a direct effect, I think it has to be a combination of maybe a game that's more unique and also maybe less available. So Guardian Legend, it's not very uncommon, but it's a teeny bit uncommon.
Right.
Teeny bit. But you can find it. But when he did the Action 52 review, that was like a $50 game. And then it went up to like $200, like right after that, for a loose copy. Glad I got my copy. When I did my Action 52 review, no one saw it. So it didn't go up that much. So it was fine.
It's very weird to me, the collecting and the prices, because I'm from the Funko Land era. I'm from like, I was collecting games in college in 2000 and 1999, 2000, 2001, like when really nobody cared then. People were like, I used to go into Funko Land or shops like that and be like, oh, I want to get this NES game. And the people behind the counter were like, you want that? Like, because people were buying like Xbox games and stuff like that. Now it's totally different, because people see it as a collector thing, and people understand, oh, NES games, that's like an old... It wasn't like that, and I was like a weirdo. I was like going into the shops, and I remember seeing... I went into one of the last Funko Lands in New Jersey, and I remember calling around, actually. I was trying to find whatever Funko Lands were still open, and I went to one somewhere in New Jersey. It was one of the last ones, and... I go into Funko Land, and they have a deal, and they had hundreds and hundreds of NES games.
Buy 2 get 1 free.
It was like buy 2 get 1 free, and then 50% off or something like that. And on top of that, nobody was collecting the games at that point, and the games were like a quarter. But then it was like buy 1 get 1 free. So now it's like half a quarter, and also it was like there was some other deal, like half price or something. So I was getting NES games for literally like 10 cents. And
the common ones were dirt cheap at Funkoland. The rare ones were still worth more, like $10-$20, but the dirt cheap ones, I mean, the common ones were like $1 or less.
Well,
a lot of
there was games that were sure, like Top Gun and stuff was very, very cheap, but games like I would find, like, I'm trying to think of something not like crazy, like not Nintendo World Championship, but what's something like more...
If you had found like a Ninja Gaiden 3, that probably would have been like 8.
Well, there you go. I was finding stuff like Ninja Gaiden 3, and I was getting it for like $1 or $2, and it was because of this deal. And I got like, I walked out of the Funko Land with 2 full trash bags full of NES games, and I probably spent under $100. And I got like crazy amount of games. So a lot of the games that are in the Nerd Collection came from that day.
That particular day. Now this is funny. I'm going to interject, because this was about 2003 when they were GameStop had taken them over. I think about a year before.
Yeah, this was before then.
So they still existed as Funkoland. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they consolidated all the retro games, basically all the cartridge-based games. They put them all, I think, only 3 different stores or 4 different stores in the entire state of New Jersey. So, like, my very local one didn't have any more, but if I drove about 10 miles away, I could find a Funkoland that had it.
That exactly.
So
That's the same thing I did.
I went to that. I didn't go to the same one you probably did. Yours sounded a lot better than mine.
The one I found was amazing.
Mine probably had about 70 to 80 games, including Genesis. And I did buy about 20, 30 games, but they weren't like the deals that you saw. I didn't see a Ninja Gaiden 3 then. I remember that.
The one that I went to, I think it was the last one in New Jersey. If not, there might have been two. And what happened was the other stores closed, so all the games that were at the other stores went to this one store. And I was like the guy who bought them all. It was awesome.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I got like the deal of the century.
Well, I always tell people if I know I would eventually get every NES game or almost every NES game, I would have bought all the ones I saw at Funkoland. In 2000, I mean, I was a college kid, didn't have a lot of money, hard to get a job out of college, but I would have said, screw it, I'll just spend all the money and do the buy two, get one free, whatever, and buy all the ones I saw. But I was getting them all at flea markets too at the time. It was still the point where you can get like 30 NES games for $20 at a flea market.
Well,
so it was like
the other thing that happened was so we got a lot of games then, but there was a lot of games we still didn't have because there's so many Nintendo games. And then we started making a list. Okay, I started making a list. Here's all the games we have. And then I was like, well, what do we not have? Then I started eBaying. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get this game. And I would get like Little Samson. I think I got that game for under $20. I started to collect the more rare stuff. So I was collecting at a time when everything was very cheap. And so where I'm going with this is now that people say, oh, there's this Super Nintendo game worth this much money and this NES game is going for $1,000, to me it's like I bought the games for a quarter. So I don't even understand any of that really.
Well, because when we were collecting back then, there was no one else collecting them.
Yeah,
we were like, it was very niche. Now
because we're old.
Now there's literally 100 times the amount of people that are looking for the same stuff. Exactly. I mean, I remember going on eBay, and even though the stuff didn't come too often, the big box Gyromite, which is probably my favorite thing in my collection.
Yeah.
I remember before people even knew about that, I was looking on eBay. I remember back in college, before there were sniping programs, running back to try to win the auction because it only went for like $30 back then. Now it goes for what, $300? And I remember slamming my arm and was breaking it against because I missed it because I knew it wasn't worth a lot of money at the time, but it only came up like for auction twice or three times a year because people were even just listing it as Gyromite. I had to search all the Gyromite listings to find, okay, this is the big box one, and I eventually got it for like, I don't know, $35. That was 2000. It's about 2000 or 2001.
You know what I'm so happy about with the nerd collection is like I was collecting at a time when like we said 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, like around that time. I know that all the games in our collection are like the legit games because I've seen your stuff, your videos and stuff, how you talk about how people now take games and they put like fake covers and they're trying to sell them but they're not real and all that. I know that all of ours are legitimate because I bought them at a time when that wasn't going on. You know?
Sure. Well, yeah. The repros you can tell though because the repros will never be the exact quality.
Right.
Especially if you open it up, that's the real thing. If you open it up and see the board, you can't. It's very hard to fake an actual board.
Right.
Whether it's people making their own boards or taking out the Famicom or the little Samsung Famicom version, putting it into a fake one, it's very hard to get away with.
Right.
If you know what you're looking for.
Right.
But no, it's very interesting how it's become in the past. I mean, me and you collecting since I think I started collecting in '99, about late '98.
That's about when I started collecting too.
So to see it change and to go along the sort of ebbs and flows with it, it's been very interesting. The fact that I'm an old man now in the collecting scene, I'm looking at this stuff like it's funny. Whenever I show up my collection. I had Andre Meadows from Black Nerd Comedy. He visited a few weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh my god, looking at my collection!" I'm just so used to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The impact is so far less. I can't appreciate it since I'm always near it.
I'm the same way. Like when people come over to my place, they're like, "Oh, you got this, you got that." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like I've had it for like 15 years. It's like, yeah, it's here. I mean, it's very hard. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk or an asshole. It's just like I'm so used to it. I literally I'm looking at it right now. I've been looking at it every day for 15 years. And people are like, "Wow, look at that." It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I'm just over it, you know.
Like, yeah, an NWC card. I'm like, yeah, it's in a bank vault. It's like, it's like I don't care because I don't see it. It's like it's just away from me.
Yeah.
You hate to say it like that because other people would kill to have it.
Right.
But after you compile this stuff over, now 15, 16 years,
you
it's
just don't
sort
care
of like
anymore. Yeah. No, I totally understand that.
It's like I hate to say it, I always remember, I forget I have stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
me
it's
too.
like I
Yeah.
had this that's like really hard to find. I'm like, oh, I got that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I got that. Like, I had to think about, oh, I have DuckTales 2 in the box. I'm like, I
Yeah,
totally forgot I had that at some point. I'm like,
I don't even know what I own. In fact, I don't. When I want to find a game, I don't walk over to my collection. I go on the website and because it's quicker. And
check to see if you have it.
I'm like, do I have a copy of like Ninja Gaiden 2 or something? I don't know. Let me see if I have it. I like search it on the website. I'm like, oh
Control
yeah,
F.
I have it. Okay, and then I go get it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'll have an Excel spreadsheet on
Yeah.
Google Drive that I check. I'm like, oh, I have that. You know.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
but it's just fun to see that, and yeah, and people are going to hate on us, be like, "Oh, you don't appreciate what you have." So no, we do appreciate it, but it's just you get numb to it after a while.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
when you start
Oh.
owning
Oh.
literally thousands of games, you just kind of get numb.
I think I very much appreciate my games because I think a lot of collectors, kind of like comic book collectors, when they collect the comic book but then they keep it in the plastic and they never read it. Well,
Sure.
same thing with comic books. I collect comic books too, but I don't have any of them in the hard plastic thing. I have them so I actually read them. And same thing with the video games. I feel like I very much appreciate them because I actually play them, and you guys know I do because we do the videos every week and whatever. So and even when we're not doing the videos, I play them. I play them anyway. You know, I play them with my girlfriend. I play them with my friends, regardless of whether we're making videos or not. And I think that the fact that I use them all the time is how I appreciate them and I play them.
Video game fans aren't supposed to have girlfriends.